Thanks for watching the Daily Debate, live Wednesdays with Tagreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Tonight, actually, we have a very interesting topic to talk about. We'll be talking about the impact of digital transformation in the field of finance and beyond. As we all know, that Nile TV International is our media ambassador, an extraordinary ambassador from Egypt. Egypt, the mother of the world, and to the whole world. Nile TV is the bridge of communication that brings the world to you, dear viewers. Tonight we'll shed more light about the world stock markets, the economy, and the world of finance as well, and from the eyes of a world financial expert. Tonight we'll be enjoying the privilege of interviewing one of Egypt's sons who has actually excelled abroad and made his name in the field of fintech and also in the field of stock market. And we're really pleased to have with us Mr. Seif Hafez, the global financial expert. Thank you so much for coming to Nile TV tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Our pleasure and honor. Tonight, together, we'll be talking about the global strategies in the digital world. We'll be talking about fintech, the rapidly growing industry that definitely serves the interests of both the customers as well as the businesses in different and in multiple ways. Mr. Hafez will be explaining to us how businesses can also use technology in order to enhance or automate the financial services and the impact of digital transformation in the stock market. So a very interesting topic tonight. We'll be also talking about the results of the COMESA summit, a very important summit that was held at Egypt's new administrative capital from the political as well as the economic points of view. But starting off with even the theme of the COMESA yesterday said more and laid more emphasis about building resilience through strategic digital economic integration. So the whole world today is talking about integrating digital transformation into the economy. How this sense of digitization, Mr. Hafez, is transforming not only societies, but also reshaping finances around the whole world.
Absolutely. If I would recall, actually, in the financial world, in the old days, people used to wake up in the morning, used to actually walk all the way to the banks, and used to stand up in a lineup in order to talk to the teller and to withdraw money or do a transfer. Nowadays, with the fintech and all the new technology that's happening now, all you need to do is just to pick up your phone, plug different numbers, and that's it. You know, you got the transfer done. So the fintech is transforming the world upside down. And that reminds me of a very interesting story that I want to talk about, actually, which is if we do not actually go hand in hand with what's happening now with the financial world transforming, we're going to lose a lot behind. For example, like a story that I would never forget in my life, which a lot of us would know. It's the Netflix and Blockbuster. Blockbuster, they had the biggest stores for selling and renting out all the movies and the videos and all that. Netflix, at that time, in the year 2000, they wanted actually to sell them the idea and to have them buy it over. And they actually took all the way to flying to them and to explain to them. And Blockbuster refused, because they thought this is like crazy, because Netflix asked for $50 million to be bought at the time in the year 2000. 10 years down the line, look at what happened. What happened is Blockbuster actually, after the internet and all that happened, went bankrupt. Yeah. Because they didn't cope with the
global digital
digitalization. Yeah. And Netflix nowadays is worth $250 billion.
More of our audience would like to know more about the terminology. And you know, in the world of economy and finance, the best thing about it is simplifying those sense of terms. And you are an expert in that, and making the world of finance easy and simple and at hand for people to understand and also to follow.
Correct. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, finance sounds a little bit complicated for people who are a little bit far away from finance. Yeah. People who are not familiar with the world of finance might find even to the level of credit card might be complicated for a lot of people. So it is super important to, in order to invest somewhere, for example, you need to understand what you're investing in. And it's super important to what I usually do, what I like to do is I have a YouTube channel that I sometimes show up and tell people how to make things simplified so that they can understand to the core, to the people that are not familiar. And this is super important.
If we're going to talk about from the eyes from an international economic expert, how do you see digitization today transforming lives of economists? We see the global digital innovation strategies being applied and this sense of digital transformation, and we're always working on the path of sustainability. We're always aiming to achieve sustainable growth.
Let me tell you, in the old days, a lot of things were product-centric. Meaning that if we get two remote controls, for example, in the old days, people used to fabricate the remote control with the idea of the person who's fabricating it. Meaning that they would put a lot of buttons on the remote control, and people, when they get to use it, they wouldn't really understand where to go. The new fintech and the new idea is to be customer-centric, is to actually fabricate something that would be easy for people to use. And this is where fintech is going. This is where the finance world is going. Not only with the finance world, by the way, but a lot of other things. For example, a lot of companies are insurance companies. They are very soon, they're going to implement certain high-tech and artificial intelligence in your car to monitor your driving skills and to send it directly to the insurance company, so that your premium would change automatically. Maybe you don't have to pay a big premium because you're driving very good, or maybe you have to pay a big premium because you're driving very bad. So I would say that the fintech and the financial transformation of digitalization is something super important, and this is where we're going.
Yes, definitely. Well, as usual, Egypt is attracting the attention of the world with mega international events, and those international events are definitely in a class of their own. In addition to the COMESA summit, we are making headlines for tomorrow's inauguration of the Rams Road in Luxor, that World Open Air Museum Luxor in Egypt, the mother of the world, is going to send messages throughout the whole world actually tomorrow. And with the global tourism industry, we are going to invite, of course, royals, experts all over the world. Cameras and more than hundreds of stations around the world will be covering this megastar event. Well, talking about this sense of having a look at the global tourism industry and linking the sense of tourism to the economy and finance, they are very much interrelated. And surely those great events are going to market the mother of the world abroad.
Absolutely.
How do you see those events, the festivals, those interesting, events that make headlines like the inauguration of the Rams Road?
Well, I have to tell you that Egypt in general is under the spotlight. I have to say that I've been living in Switzerland for more than 20 years, and I've been working in the financial industry over there. And I can tell you from a European perspective into Egypt, that Egypt is classified as, if not number one, then it is one of the first in the emerging market nowadays, because of a lot of good things that's happening now. There's a lot of political stability in the country, in Egypt, and there's a lot of people who have their, because let's look at it that way. A lot of European countries has been already stable in their economy, and people who have money and they want to inject it somewhere to have a good return, they look into an emerging market. Where can an emerging market be promising? They look around, and Egypt is number one in the area. And I can see, of course, Egypt goes back to 7,000 years ago, and tourism and pyramids and all that.
Yeah.
And absolutely going back to your point, when we talk about all these touristic events, will add even more to the fact that Egypt is a hot country in investing in the emerging market.
Yes, here is a glimpse of the beautiful story and the history-making event that we are going to witness Thursday, which is the inauguration of the Rams Road in Luxor. I had all the honor of shooting a promo in Luxor in the pre-inauguration, and I can just tell you that the mood is fabulous, and it's amazing, to see this glory on the ground. Definitely, Egypt, the mother of the world, invites visitors. Let's watch the promo and we'll be back.
Excellent.
An event that captures the hearts and minds of people all over the world. History making in Egypt and from Luxor. The inauguration of the Rams Road. Our pharaohs, the grand ancestors, never keep amazing the world at large. Special coverage on Nile TV International. Well, throughout Thursday here on Nile TV International, there will be a special coverage on the Rams Road until the inauguration taking place at 7:30 on Thursday night. We'll be bringing you live what is happening from Luxor and that magnificent scene marketing Egypt globally and branding Egypt globally to the whole world. Well, talking tonight technology and the economy and following the massive growth of the e-commerce,
yes.
Definitely worldwide.
Yes.
How do you see the traditional businesses
Absolutely.
With the emergence of this massive growth?
Mm-hmm. One of the very interesting things that I would like to mention around here, for example, if we look at the traditional banks, when we come to fintech actually, it comes from financial technology. That's like financial and technology got together, it's called fintech. In the old days, banks, as big institutions, used to use fintech as the back office. And then the front was the day-to-day transactions. Nowadays, the things are transforming the other way around. Fintech is the platform that's facing the customers, and the back office kind of transaction is going back. Let's put it that way. Let me give you an example. For example, in the old days, if you want to borrow money, how would you borrow money? You go to the bank and you ask for money. Is it the bank's money? It's not the bank's money. It's the money that someone else had deposited into the bank. So the banks are making the intermediary. Now they are transforming into peer-to-peer, the lender and the borrower interacting together. So
yes.
This is actually where fintech comes hand in hand. So fintech, or financial technology in a nutshell, is something that is facilitating the financial world for the day-to-day person. Let's think there are 2 billion people around the world that are not banked. They are not banked. Fintech can go to those people, can let them bank, can make them transfer money, can make them save money.
Well, the digital disruption has definitely changed the map of the world finance as at large. And do you think global banks today are quite worried that they might be eaten by fintechs?
That's an excellent question, by the way. That's a very good question. That is a threat that should not happen. Because I think fintech and banking should go hand in hand. Let's put our hands on one point. When did fintech emerge? It emerged in 2008, when the financial crisis happened. Banks were the first to innovate in fintech. Banks are the ones who created the credit card. And Barclays in 1967 is the first bank that created the ATM where you can withdraw cash. So banks were the leaders, but when 2008 happened, there were a lot of burden and compliance, and banks were not able to innovate. Who did walk in at that point in time? Startups and fintech took that opportunity when banks could not proceed, and they did it that way. So your point is excellent. So are they yes, of course. There are banks that are threatened, of course, because fintech, they don't charge as much as banks.
Yeah. Where is the world of startups today leading us? I mean, we're always hearing this term, startups, and also encouraging the youth to have their own small projects and to go ahead with startups.
Correct.
What do you think is the criteria of choice in that way?
like where should they go
Yes.
in startups? Startups is open to, in my opinion, startups is something that's open to any person who is thinking of creating an idea. The only challenge that might have as a startup is the funding, because a lot of people could come with ideas, but they don't have the money to proceed. From my information, Egypt is under the spotlight. There is a big fund as we speak that is created in Europe to fund the startups in Egypt. And that fund is huge, by the way, because Egypt is classified as #1 when it comes to startups now, because the intelligence in Egypt here and the people that are looking forward and running and really
smart enough and a far-sighted vision, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's almost impossible to avoid international exposures in today's globally interconnected economy. So it's very important to know and to understand what the international stocks are, and to follow up this sense of their being incorporated into trading.
Correct.
How do you see this and this sense of reflection on investing strategies, particularly in the era of digitization?
You mean the stock market?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Nowadays, there are a lot of different platforms, without mentioning names, around the world that would facilitate for every person, you and I, that could walk in, open an account in 24 hours, super easy, copy of your passport, ID, residence, you have an account, you fund the account, you're up and running. You can start trading right away. So it's super easy. The dangerous part is because everybody wants to get rich fast. And everybody thinks that once you're in the stock market, you can be super rich. And that's why a lot of people, they lose a lot of money. So should be a strategy, absolutely. #1 strategy is to understand that you have to put a stop loss. When you're trading in the stock market, you have to understand that there is a limit. Once that you go beyond that limit, you have to accept the loss. A lot of people, they don't accept the loss. They let the loss running, and once they get a little bit of profit, they cut the profit, which should be the other way around. You should let the profit run, and you should cut the loss.
Yes. Well, in light of the different overviews of the world's largest and the world's most important stock market indices, well, it's very important that the whole world is talking today about building the market resilience through the sense of digital transformation. So this has been trendy.
Correct.
How can we cope with this sense of and pace of digitization, which is actually very much rapid?
Like in Egypt.
In Egypt and in the whole world, I mean.
Correct. Well, the stock market is based on liquidity. So the more people that would trade, the more liquidity there will be. Stock market is a market where people buy and sell. So if there are a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers, that means if I want to buy my product, I could sell it right away. Sorry, if I want to sell my product, I could sell it right away. If I want to buy a product, I could buy it right away. So it is based on the amount of people that are trading. So the more people are engaged in the stock market and the more people are able to code themselves in the stock market through digital platforms or through brokers, the better it is for the whole economy. Let's say, for example, I'm a company. I go IPO. IPO, which is initial public offering, meaning I go to the stock market and I start trading. If there are no buyers and sellers, then it's worthless.
Is trading an art, in your opinion?
Trading is psychology.
It's psychology.
It's psychology.
In what way is it psychology?
It is psychology. I get angry because I'm losing, so I keep on buying more. I get passionate about a certain stock, sorry, so I buy it without even understanding it. So there's a lot of psychology happening. It's all about it's human behavior. That's why you find the chart. When there was a gentleman, I think a Japanese, who invented the candlesticks, which are explaining how the trading happens and the pattern of trading. And that's why they created technical analysis, which meaning that if it goes here, then the chances that it's going to go there is high, or the chance it's going to be here is low. Why? Because of psychology, basically.
Yes. Are there, let me say, coaches for for this sense of psychology,
Yeah.
and for directing people on how can they deal.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? It's very interesting because there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of education, there's
Passion also about the story.
there's a lot of absolutely, but it goes back. It goes back to the psychology of the person who's trading. No matter how many people had educated him, it goes back to him. How his character is. If he's an impatient person, if he's a patient person, if he's a person that listens to advices, you know.
From the eyes of a global financial expert, what would you say? What sort of advice would you give to traders and trading in that respect?
Absolutely, it's a good question. Actually, advice that I would give would be, if you're not an expert trader and if you see that you are unable to control yourself when it comes to trading, I would certainly advise that you put your money in a fund, a diversified fund, a fund that's managed by experts, that is diversified into different industries, different sectors, different high risk, low risk, and leave it to the expert and watch it as it grows. But if you really want to trade, you have to understand that you're willing to take the loss. You have to know. If you're walking in with 10,000 Egyptian pounds, for example, you have to accept that you're going to lose them.
COVID-19, and it posed actually a challenge to the whole world,
Sure.
And also to financial markets and the field of economy. What were the lessons taught from trading during that difficult period, in your opinion?
You know, you'll be surprised. During COVID-19, the volume of trading had went up the sky, had skyrocketed during COVID-19. Guess why? People are staying home, and there's liquidity, and they work from home. They got bored. They go online. They started opening an account, and they started trading. Banks made a lot of money during COVID.
Yeah.
Because of trading commissions, and made a lot of profit,
Yeah.
and their stocks went up. So yeah, when it comes to trading, I would say, and even surprisingly, a lot of stocks went super much up. By the way, they classify them into two things: the COVID stocks and the non-COVID stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, more than one theme actually tonight. We are also talking building resilience through strategic digital economic transformation and integration. The COMESA summit that was held in Egypt mainly aimed to encourage the COMESA's 21 member states to make greater use of the digital platforms to facilitate business and also to enhance resilience against the economic disruption that has been caused by COVID-19. Let's watch this report, and we'll be back. As you can see, like, digitization and digital transformation is overwhelming. Let's watch.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi chaired on Tuesday the 21st summit of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, known as the COMESA, in the presence of heads of states and governments in the new administrative capital, the NAC. During the summit, President el-Sisi received the presidency of the COMESA from the President of Madagascar. In this regard, the President expressed his sincere thanks to the President of the Republic of Madagascar for his efforts and tangible achievements that have been made to deepen economic integration. In the summit, President el-Sisi stated that Egypt will spare no effort during its presidency of the grouping to build on what has been achieved, with the aim of realizing the aspirations of the group's member states. In this regard, he called for concerted regional efforts to deepen integration, announcing that Egypt has developed a regional integration framework in line with the COMESA's medium-term strategic plan, 2021-2025. Under the theme Building Resilience through Strategic Digital Economic Integration, the summit aimed to encourage COMESA's 21 member states to make greater use of digital platforms to facilitate business and enhance resilience against the economic disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. During the summit, the head of state underscored the necessity of introducing exemptions to customs as agreed within the framework of the AFCFTA. In this respect, he highlighted his proposal to set up a mechanism to review the trade policies of member states on a periodic basis to ensure the effective implementation of customs privileges. Within the framework of the summit, President Sisi launched an initiative for regional industrial integration, stating that an executive plan will be drawn up by member states, as well as the General Secretariat, to achieve this integration and increase productivity under the slogan, Made in COMESA. The President added that Egypt will also work on ramping up economic integration in the infrastructure sectors, especially transportation, energy, communications and information technology, for the aim of regional integration progress.
A very important event that took place in Egypt. We're really honored to have with us over the phone His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Al-Arabi, Egypt's former Foreign Minister. Your Excellency, thank you so much for talking to us live on Wednesday debate. The President exerts strenuous efforts to strengthen political as well as economic ties with the African countries. And we've seen Egypt's presidency of the COMESA, bearing into consideration that this is the second time since 2001 that Egypt has occupied the chair. So how do you see, Your Excellency, Mr. Minister, this providing an opportunity to push forward our integration plans, Ambassador?
Well, I think we should also remind the viewers that Egypt was instrumental, in the establishing of this gathering, which we call the COMESA. Egypt was, let us say, the initiator for this idea, and we worked very hard at the time in order to establish this group. And I think it was a successful group so far. And the main aim of this group is to eliminate, the barriers between the African countries and the east side of Africa, in order to facilitate the trade between these countries and the exchange for goods and even for people. I think we had a very large scale of targets, and maybe I can claim that we already succeeded to establish these targets and accomplish the main principles of the COMESA.
Yes.
And of course, we still have more ambitions, and I think COMESA was also the nucleus for the free trade area for the whole continent, and that was also an initiative by Egypt when Egypt was the chairman of the African Union. And I think all these, efforts, it is a very important effort in order to create this kind of integration between the African countries. And I think this will play an important role for the welfare of the African people, which we needed, for the future. And in the meantime, it will create a sort of independence of the African countries, that they can produce their goods and their merchandise, and this will, of course, save their economy, and it will help for the prosperity of the people.
Yes, definitely. Your Excellency, the President launched an initiative that you referred to concerning regional industrial integration. We were very happy to view this initiative along with the slogan Made in COMESA. So definitely this reflects on Egypt's role in Africa. How significant is our role in Africa?
Yeah, I think this is a very important, step if we will reach this very high level, targets, which is the Made in COMESA. I think this will be a great success and a real leap in the African cooperation. And it might even give, a good message to the others to try to implement the same idea in different places. But of course, we have to work, on different issues on that. I think the main thing is how to facilitate the transportation between the African countries, because, we don't have direct, let us say, lines, sea or air or roads. And I think also the Egyptian initiative, Alexandria Cape Town highway, is one of the good things that they can facilitate, this kind of trade between the African countries. Also, we have many projects actually in Africa, and Egypt is playing a pivotal role in order to create good infrastructure in Africa. And with this infrastructure, I think we can reach our goals. And this might take some time, but I think we are in the right direction, and we need maybe some more efforts and help from the other countries, let us say the Western countries, to provide these projects with some assistance. I think this might help. And in the meantime, Egypt is always paying more attention to the strategic situation in Africa. I think the civil wars and corruptions and many other things. And we are doing our best in order to raise the capabilities of the people of Africa during our, let us say, using our also capabilities and from the institutions here in Egypt, in universities, in even the military academies. I think we are doing a lot of good things for the African people.
Yes, definitely. Your Excellency, Ambassador Mohammed Al-Arabi, Egypt's former foreign minister, thank you so much for your valuable input, Your Excellency, as always. Well, Mr. Hafez, we're still talking about trading and stock markets all over the world.
Sure.
And according to efficient market hypotheses, the stock prices are expected to adjust immediately without any sort of overreaction when new information is actually made available.
Correct.
To the public. So the sense of preciseness and the sense of the effect of unanticipated incidents on the stock market, this is also another point that I guess many ask you about.
Yes, and going back to your point, it goes back to what I said earlier, psychology. Because if people panic, they start selling. Mm-hmm. And when people see other people selling, they start also selling. Mm-hmm. And it's like a snowball effect. Yeah. So at the end of the day, everyone is selling without even understanding why they're selling. And by the way, going back to fintech, there's a lot of algorithmic softwares. You'd be surprised that are programmed in a certain way. If they would hear certain terminology in the news, they would start selling. Mm-hmm. Meaning that, for example, if a blast in the White House or a bomb that exploded in the White House, for example, if that is on a breaking news, that comes on a breaking news, there are a lot of algorithms around the world that controls a lot of stocks and controls a lot of trading that would automatically, without even consulting anyone, start dumping stocks. And that would go down. So that goes back to the point of fear. One thing also that I would like to mention, which is goes back to the stock market and what's happening nowadays with COVID as well.
Yeah.
Just a quick thing. There are a lot of companies that had not yet recovered, which are mainly the tourism sector. Cruises, airlines, all those companies, huge companies like Lufthansa, Carnival, all those big companies around the world, they have not yet recovered because of the coronavirus. So it is kind of an opportunity for people who want to buy and wait. A lot of people, there are day traders and there are people who would buy and wait. These are two different people completely.
How do you see the future of digital transformation and its effect on the world of economy and finance? I mean, it's a world that is rapidly changing.
Yes.
Every day there is something new.
Yes.
In what way will it continue affecting?
I think it's like a train that took off from a station. If you don't jump in it, you're
and
losing.
keep pace
There's no way
with what
back.
is happening.
Yeah, there's no way back. Look, for example, I have my son who lives abroad. If I want to send him money, I'm using fintech myself. I just press, and it's like a WhatsApp message. He gets it instantly. And the world is going that direction. So I think that fintech is going to help a lot of unbanked people, the 2 billion that I mentioned, to be banked. And people need to connect. And let's say, for example, WeChat in China. In WeChat itself, the application, you can book a doctor's appointment. You can buy insurance. You can actually buy a stock. You can send a message up to the point that you can actually date someone on the same application, which is WeChat. So just to tell you how the transformation is going, you know?
Well, investing in international stocks is investing in people, investing in governments where the foreign shares are actually located. Well, we do have many events and many economic events happening, and when it happens in a foreign company's home country, definitely it might affect people's investment, so it's reciprocal.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yes. Talking about the future of, let me say, dealings, and you talked a lot concerning the art of trading.
Correct.
And, this is actually mainly also your speciality. How far will digitization affect this sense of art of trading, in your opinion, in the future?
Well, everybody's now looking for some kind of algorithm around the world. They are talking about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is
the future, actually.
The future, absolutely.
And it is going to affect our lives throughout.
To the point that Google is going to know you more than you know yourself, which is very interesting, because they see what you buy, they see what you like, they're going to present to you what you like, to the point that maybe if you want to marry someone, you're going to ask Google if that person is good for me or not. So it reached that level. So when it comes to finances, artificial intelligence is going to study the trend of traders and get you an answer when to enter and when to exit. So artificial intelligence is definitely, so digitalization is I mean, now look at Mark Zuckerberg, sorry, and Facebook and the new metaverse that's coming out now. It's a completely different world. It's a world where you put your VR, the virtual reality Google, and all of a sudden you're in a different world completely, and this is not going to stop. It's moving on and on. So
yeah, moving on, and we're still facing many challenges. Actually, Europe is also facing many economic and financial challenges. Namely, Germany, for instance, if we take Germany as an example, it's considering actually whether to implement another lockdown, and maybe perhaps a partial lockdown.
Correct.
Also, the Netherlands and more companies. Well, do you think that this is going to lead to more repercussions regarding the European economy, regarding and also the world economy in pace?
It is actually a very interesting question, because I think the world has got used to, the world is starting to live with the coronavirus, with the virus itself. And they start adjust. Absolutely. People are starting to work from home. I mean, I just heard recently that people in Portugal, for example, are asking for that their employer would pay for the electricity bill and would pay for their internet bill because they're working from home. And they're asking their employer not to contact them after 5 p.m. A lot of countries, Switzerland, for example, there's a referendum that's going to happen recently, I think the 28th of this month, that they are against that you have to be vaccinated. They don't want people to be obliged to be vaccinated. But going back to your point, I think people are adjusting. People are adjusting completely with the world, the new world. And I don't think the virus is going to, in my opinion, I don't know, in my humble opinion, I don't think this is going to continue for long. The whole world...
With the vaccination,
with the vaccination, absolutely. They're fighting it.
Yes.
So it's a fight against the virus. And I think humans are going to win.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
It may be tough to start investing actually in the stock market, since the stock market jargon can almost sound like a foreign language for certain people. So those who are taking their first steps in investing, many of course would like, to knock new doors. Correct. And to know more about new technicalities. With the sense of technology that is there, with the sense of digitization happening on solid grounds, how can you help them, those who are young especially?
Correct. Well,
the youth, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
The youth, yes.
Yes. Well, first thing that it's super important that you understand what you are investing in. And if you do not understand it, do not invest in. If you're walking into a company and you want to buy shares, you need to understand this fundamental of that company, how big it is, and where it has been and where it's going. Because, for example, you see a trend that's going up, and then you might buy it, and then it falls. And you see it falling, and then you buy it, and it might fall again. So it's super important to study the company and to walk baby steps, and to accept the loss. And like I said, to put a stop loss. Open a small account, put a small investment, and don't rush. Always think that tomorrow is a new day, because a lot of people think that I have to invest today, and if I don't invest today, I'm going to lose. And it's called the opportunity cost, you know.
The panic.
The panic. There's like, it's called the FOMO, the fear of missing out. The FOMO, like there's a trend that's going up and I'm not following it. So I'm missing out, it's going fast. No, do not panic. There's tomorrow and there's another day where you're going to still make money and more money.
Yeah.
So you have to slow down and you have to put a stop loss. And start with a small amount, but take into consideration that you might lose that amount. So you need to understand
Expect.
that. Expect. I mean, if you don't understand how to lose, you don't understand how to win.
When were the benefits actually outweigh the risks while dealing? This is usually also a question. When do the benefits overweigh the risks when investing in the stock markets?
Well, usually when you invest in the stock market, if you're making profit, you want to also lock the trade because you want to lock the profit. I had a lot of clients in my previous jobs that I was managing a lot of, and I'm still am, you know, managing funds for clients and investment in Switzerland. And a lot of people would have their portfolio growing, but they would never lock it and materialize the profit because let's say Apple stock, it's trading at 200. It could go to 250. And you're so happy, but it's on paper. It will, next day, if you don't lock it and sell it, it will go down to 180.
Yeah.
So materializing the profit.
Yes. The key to building wealth is always developing good habits. And
Correct.
Out of the eyes of the international stock market expert and in the digital age, how can we make this digitalization or rely on digitization as an asset that is going to help us move forward, in your opinion?
Well, digitalization is going to help you in trading. It's going to help you in investing in different instruments. For example, you don't have to buy a stock because stock is very volatile. It goes up and down very fast. In the digitalization era, you could still buy a bond, which would yield some kind of a return, and you'll be very stable. Meaning that digitalization, the idea of fintech and digitalization is I come to you. I'm coming to you. Every person will have access, which is the best thing ever. You would open your phone, you would turn on your phone and you open an application and you'll be able to buy a bond that otherwise you would never be able to buy it. You would need to go to the big institutions and open an account and be eligible for that. So digitalization is certainly coming to you.
Yeah. Short break. Welcome back and talking about your motto. We're talking about a very interesting motto that,
Correct.
If applied, could definitely lead to fruitful results.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe, which goes hand in hand with the fintech, that the best customer service is self-service. If you think about it, when you go to, let's say, any of those self-service restaurants, you are sure that you're getting what you want. You're taking your tray, you're going back to your table, you're serving yourself. So there are no surprises. No one is angry, you're not angry at the waiter, everything is fantastic. The same thing with fintech. The best customer service is self-service. I'm getting you the phone so that you can turn on the phone and you can transfer yourself the money to someone else. You don't need to call the bank and where's my Swift copy? Why the transfer didn't happen? And you need to go to the bank and go park your car and talk to the person and go to stay and meet a guy who already is burdened by his work and already uncomfortable. So, and that goes back to the fintech point.
Yes. Talking also globally, what is trendy nowadays in the world of finance? And in what way is this sense of digitization changing pace, in your opinion?
Yes. What is trendy right now is crowdfunding, which is super important. Let's say
What do we mean by crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding, good question. Crowdfunding is, I come with an idea, and I don't have even, it's just an idea. I have nothing, and I don't have money. So I create something called a crowdfunding, meaning that I present my idea, and I want to attract a lot of funds from other people that are going to support my idea so that my idea will see the light. And that is crowdfunding. That is super famous around the world now. And before the internet and the era of of communication, which I call it the fourth revolution around the world. We never had something like that.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for more because our world is actually very much rapidly changing, and we talked tonight about the future of transactions of the stock markets, and also about how the world has gone vis-a-vis digital transformation and the world of finance. I thank very much my dear guest, Mr. Seif Hafez, the global financial expert, for coming to the debate live tonight. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you
Hafez.
very much for having me.
Thank you, my pleasure. And next time, another episode, another team working the next day, tomorrow, and wait for us for the striking headline, Egypt making history tomorrow with the inauguration of the Rams Road. I'm Taghreed Hussein. Many thanks for watching.